Lovely, lovely to see you all, be with you all. Let me just, undo this recording.
Take two.
Take two. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda. On the dedication page of Swami Kriyananda's book, The Path, appears the following account. A group of Paramhansa Yogananda's disciples had gone with him to see a movie about the life of Gyandev, a great saint of medieval India. Afterwards, they gathered and listened to the master explain certain subtler aspects of that inspiring story. A young man in the group mentioned another film he had seen years earlier in India about the life of Mirabai, a famous woman saint. If you'd seen that movie, he exclaimed, you wouldn't even have liked this one. The Guru rebuked him. Why make such comparisons? The lives of great saints manifest in various ways the same one God. The Bible contains a similar account in the Gospel of St. Luke, chapter 9. And John, said Master, we saw one casting out devils in thy name, and we forbade him, because he followeth not with us. And Jesus said unto him, forbid him not, for he that is not against us is for us. The more central a truth, the greater the number of contexts in which it can be applied. Truth is like a pure white light, containing within itself the full spectrum of the rainbow. Let no one tell you what your path to God ought to be. Many are the paths. Select your own according to the dictates of your own nature, no matter how out of step that puts you with other people. Sri Krishna in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita states, trying even unsuccessfully to fulfill one's own spiritual duty, dharma, is better than pursuing successfully the duties of others. Better death itself in the pursuance of one's own duties. The pursuance of another's duties is fraught with spiritual danger. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Oh, 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 oh.
I don't have any dad jokes about the truth. Apologies for that. Now it's interesting when you think about the truth or the many paths to truth. Swami Kriyananda was a truth seeker. He spent 60 years plus of his life just seeking truth, and he was just such a wonderful example of truth and standing by truth and recognizing it. And even to the point when he was in the ashram, he still wouldn't believe anything else or anyone unless it was the words of Yogananda, our guru. And he would always ask, did that come from the guru himself? Did that come from master, or was it just an opinion? And right to that point, he was always along those sides. And so being a truth seeker, for him, he had his due path. He understood what he needed and wanted and stuck to it throughout his life. And I love reading Swami's stories, because anything that didn't align with truth, he just said, oh, that was the devil trying to get me, whether it was his health or thoughts that come into his mind or anything like that. And there's a beautiful passage with Miriam, his nurse, and he was so unwell, and here her truth was to nurture her guru and protect. That's what her truth was. But his was to teach the truth and get out and do his work. And he literally said to her at the time, you know, get away, it's the devil trying to get me. And she said, do you mean that I'm behind the devil? I'm supporting the devil? And at the time he said, yes. And, you know, again, time and time again, he got up through what most people wouldn't, you know, we don't get out of bed, us men with the man flu, let alone the things that Swami had. And he would always get up and allow that channel to come through him and the truth be taught. And then he, afterwards, Miriam asked him, she said, oh, you know, like, do you understand that my truth is that I have to look after you and my job is to nurture you and keep you well and do what's right for you? And he said, oh, I see that truth now. But he was always looking. And if you look at the path that we're on, whether it's the Autobiography of Yogi or the teachings that were taught by Yogananda, they were never about you must do this or you must do that. We were given tools, and we're on this path of self-realization. And if you get to the crux of what self-realization is, it's center everywhere, circumference nowhere. And that means that within every living organism is the center of God and circumference nowhere. And so we're living in this world of being outside of that. And our egos get in the road of everything that comes into play. And it reminds me of, you know, religious dogmatism. And it's so funny when you see it happen. It's like you have this building that has a belief structure within it, and that you have to fall within it. You step outside of that structure and you go down to the store and you speak to someone and you have a wonderful experience. That person really touches you. They speak to you, they share stories, ask how you're going, and you come out of it uplifted and light, and you think, wow, that's amazing. And then all of a sudden you step into that building or your religious dogma, and that person is like cut off. It's a complete screen. You forget that the underlying truth of that being is that they are oneness with God. And how often we do that? We go around judging people for where they are or what they do. And I think we all we put on these masks in the stuff that we do in relation to whether we're a nurse or a doctor or a policeman or even the person on doing the checkout or whatever it is. We play the mask, we play the game, we play what they are, but there's still that person behind that act. And regardless of religion, regardless of anything that's a belief structure, that is what our sole purpose is. Our sole purpose is to self-realize, and that is to know that truth. Lots of people wandering around that don't know that truth. And that's the mission of all of us, is to find that truth. And when you look at Ananda in its sense of community, because we always hear community is what we need to do. We need to live like within like-minded people. It's not that we're all like-minded. It's the fact that we all recognize that we need to find ourselves. We all need to be self-realized. We're all different on that path. And that's what Ananda stands out differently. We're all nurturing individually the journey home. And that's a big difference to being come in and, had this dogma about it. Yes, we all have the same guru. We all follow a line of gurus, and we all have tools that are going to help us self-realize, and we can all uplift ourselves to be on that journey. That's the like-minded part of a community. But people come before things, that meaning that your journey, your truth is just as important as my journey and my truth, and recognizing it and respecting everybody's journey and everybody's truth. There is no difference, and we're stepping into an age where that's becoming more. There's the dogmatism and the structure and the buildings around what they are. And I was with a Nayaswami once, and we're in a temple, and they said, wow, isn't this interesting? This is so Kali. It's so built around structure and rigidity and hardness and all these kind of things. And he just was in bliss. He just said, oh, I'm so grateful that we have this path of creativity and flowing energy and respect for each other. And that is what community is all about. It's the fact that we love God and each other, and we all want each individual truth to come out, and each individual person's journey. We want to be standing there clapping each other along the way and sharing that. And that's that joy of the song, where when people go on their journey, that everyone stands around and sings it through.
Go with love.
Go with love. And that is, to me, what our life should be like. Every day, every person we meet, we should be singing that song to. Go with love. Take that love and go on that journey and find God within. And what that means for every one of us is completely different. But we're all brothers and sisters holding hands on that path, on that way home. And we have a guru that has shown us the way, that lights the way. We have a line of gurus that have strengthened that light to shine and come through, and the magnetism within it. And that's what we feel within each one of us. And Swami's example of that was exemplary. He stood true to everything. I can't imagine going through the tests and trials that Swami did with people that lied, and they're on the same path even, like they had the same guru, and he still showed nothing but love. And when you look at his journey along the way, his light kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and his body kept falling and falling and falling away. But he still, when you read or find out where he was just before he did something, you would never imagine the fact that he was in absolute, had broken ribs and pain and a heart that wasn't working, that was beating, 180 to 200 beats per minute. He couldn't breathe, he couldn't talk. And next thing you know, he stood on stage and just became a channel and stood there for an hour, sometimes an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours, and then came back in. And that is testament to truth. That is his truth. He stood by that truth, and he was very adamant. Another story, someone said to him, you're looking better. And he said, no, I'm great. I feel well. I'm amazing. And he never allowed anything but truth to fall into his path, with all the trials and tribulations that he went through. And, as you read that journey, it's a testament to all of us. It's a testament that we have to find our truth. Not all of our truth has to be the same as Swami's. And he said that. He said, I don't want to give this as an example that you should all follow, because you all have your own. And he was very mindful right up until the last phase of his life, where he just was like, no, this is to the guru. This is to the guru. This is that work that needed to be done. And the evolution of his life, when Master first said to him, you have great work, has many meanings. On that physical plane, he had many works to do, but the many works weren't just outward, they were also inwards. And that was that standing true, and the fight of the Gita of his whole life was this fight for truth in everything that he did. And just an amazing, for us, a journey that we can all aspire to. But as a collective, as an Ananda, as a joyful community within this, it's our opportunity to have truth and support everyone on their journey individually for that truth.
Is it okay to share next? Okay. So one of the points that stood out to me when we were doing our affirmation for self-confidence is that self-confidence is living your truth. It is being true to who you are and being confident to be yourself, right? So how do we all feel that we're living in truth? I think that was a lot of what Nara was just sharing about Swamiji's example for us. He did that his whole life, and we picked out some songs for you that really reflect this lesson for all of us that you can repeat in your consciousness and feel that help you on your journey. Because the world that we live in is there is a lot of turbulence and conflict, and it's a time where there's people who are embracing a more energy age, and in that might mean that there's different expressions of these truths, but it's all okay, it's all one. And there's that Kali Yuga holding on to, no, I'm afraid to admit that there's more than one way. I like my boundaries. I like this box that I've got with its nice walls, and I can fit inside of it. And your box is different than mine, so stay in your box. But one of the things that came to my mind as far as, well, how do we go out in our daily life and be able to live our truths? Well, if you think of all of us as a magnet, so we're all energetic beings. We have an electric current that's flowing through us. What do we know on our path about how important magnetism is? And you can imagine that to have a greater sense of self, we need to feel that we are a conduit for truth flowing through into this world. And not only does that strengthen us in our practices, in our behaviors, and doing our right habits and right actions, but it also helps the people around us. And, for the next generation to see people living their truths, it's a really important lesson. I think you hear this a lot today, is being authentic. That's like the hot word of the times is, I follow that person because they're authentic. They're themselves. They're living their truth. And we all need to be aware that that's something that we can model by just being ourselves. And one of the things that came to my mind as far as an action that we can do throughout this week is to practice being a channel for truth, but as kindness. I think a lot of people look at all the different paths and they wonder, well, what's a thread that you hear connecting all of those truth seekers or people really dedicated and devoted to their way in the world to experience spirit? And that's a very common practice that you see across the many paths, is just learning to be kind and being kind to one another. And so as we go about our week, we can increase our self-confidence by being true to that higher nature within us, being kind, practicing more patience. One of the things that Swamiji said, you all know the quote from Master, "When I am God, only love can take my place." Well, Swamiji said, "When I am gone, only kindness will take mine." So to be true to Swamiji, to be true to each other, to practice being a very strong magnet of the bright light that is behind this ray, we can practice kindness and we can be true to that. And no matter what, kind of tries to hit at us, like the satanic energy or in other words, that downward pulling force, let's just try to reverse it, take a pause, and then try to do that practice of kindness and let our magnetism just grow and grow and grow. And then you might find that more people are kind to you and you attract kindness in your daily world more and more. But that's how we start to be that change for this world of conflict and chaos. We live and we try to strengthen that light, and that magnetism will draw more. So that bright conduit of energy that we are and have the ability to be can just flood us, and then that's how the path becomes effortlessly easy in the end. At first we have to work hard because we're trying to create a strong magnet, but once our magnet is strong enough, because we're aligned and attuned to Master, this ray, and this really high consciousness vibrating of energy, then it's effortless, because those blocks, they're all gone. We're just this like channel and this force, right? All of our life force is aligned, and it's very hard to struggle at a certain point when you have that understanding. And as we all know, Swamiji faced those trials, but he was always true to his guru and to his path. And in the end, he said, what is a trial? I don't see them like that. I don't see them as challenges. I see them as gifts to grow. That's the consciousness that makes the path effortlessly easy, is when you feel that everything that comes to you, you accept it. You can be kind, you can be light. So that's our hope for all of you and for each other, to do that practice this week and to be confident in who we are and live that kindness. So we'll end this little time with those songs that I was so thrilled to share with you. So I'll go ahead and stop our recording.